Welcome to Hannity Tonight. New damaging information about Hillary Clinton's use of her private email server. Joining us now with a full report is Fox's Ed Henry. Ed.
Sean, this could be another blow to Hillary Clinton's campaign, using her private server to send at least 6 emails, according to the Washington Post, with classified information. Despite her vow back at that March news conference, she never, ever sent classified information over her personal server. Tonight, the Clinton camp is pushing back, insisting to me this was expected, that after the fact, the intel community, as they research all this, go through the documents, are going to decide that some of the information was classified, and they're going to do that after the fact, but that it was not classified when she actually pushed the button and sent it. Obviously, we've heard that claim from the campaign before, and some of their other contentions are now obviously in dispute. Some of parts of her story, going back to that first news conference at the United Nations, have been knocked down. It's going to be sorted out by the FBI's criminal investigation. All of this, from a political standpoint, clearly weighing on her candidacy. A new Washington Post ABC News poll out tonight finds her favorability continues to plummet. 45% of voters surveyed say they have a favorable view of Clinton. 53% have an unfavorable view. And people close to Clinton point out, though, that the same poll didn't have good unfavorable numbers for some of the Republican candidates like Donald Trump, Jeb Bush, Joe Biden as well on the Democratic side potentially, though clearly she is struggling right now. She's the embattled frontrunner, trying to limit the number of Democratic debates, has been ducking some questions, as you've seen, out on the campaign trail about the email controversy. And tonight, Fox has obtained a copy of a long-forgotten ad from the 2008 campaign when the script was flipped. Clinton was trying to take out a Democratic frontrunner, Barack Obama, was blasting him for ducking debates and, yes, avoiding tough questions. Watch this.
Both Democratic candidates were invited to a televised debate here in Wisconsin. Hillary Clinton has said yes. Barack Obama hasn't. Maybe he'd prefer to give speeches than have to answer questions. Like why Hillary Clinton has the only health care plan that covers every American.
Interesting, because back in that other campaign, Clinton and Obama sparred 19 times in various debates. This time, the Democratic National Committee has only scheduled 4 Democratic debates before the Iowa caucuses, what has Martin O'Malley, one of the other Democratic candidates, particularly upset. The first Democratic debate is not until mid-October. By then, Republicans will have had 2 debates. O'Malley charging that the Democratic Party is trying to protect the frontrunner.
There was a report. I want to go back to this issue because she clarified her original remarks. I neither sent nor received any classified information. Then it became marked classified information.
Right.
And reports out there that some of the, well, I guess the status might have been changed on some of these emails. What is the latest on that?
Yeah, well, there have been questions raised about whether her staff took some of this intelligence that either was or should have been marked classified in real time, and then was doing either a cut and paste or something else, putting it into new documents where maybe the markings were no longer there. You're right. There have been reports to that effect. I want to stress, as a reporter, it hasn't been proven. There hasn't been evidence to that effect. Obviously, if that turns out to be true, it's going to be a major blow to her campaign, because it will basically rip apart a lot of the arguments she has made. I think the bottom line is that's why the FBI is investigating. We're here on the outside trying to figure out what really happened. They have the criminal investigators who are going to get to the bottom of this.
And the law is pretty clear in saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be marked. For example, there's been talk about satellite images, including North Korea's nuclear arsenal maybe being moved. Wouldn't she have to know, as Secretary of State, that in fact that would be classified and should not be forwarded and should not be in a private email server that we now know is in somebody's bathroom of a mom and pop shop?
2 quick points. Number one, you're right. Republicans in recent days have been making a very strong case that at the very least this is about Hillary Clinton's judgment as Secretary of State, whether this was marked or not. If, in fact, as some of these reports are suggesting, there were satellite images, other images that would reveal some of our intelligence gathering involving North Korea, other important hotspots around the world, her judgment should have been, you would expect, that, hey, this is at the least sensitive, if not classified, and would have handled it differently. I think the second point as well, obviously, is that, look, she's under fire about all of this, and whether there's criminal charges or not, she's taking a big political hit over it, Sean.
All right, Ed Henry, thanks so much for being with us. Here now with Reaction, author of the New York Times #1 best-selling book. It's #1 now 4 weeks in a row, Plunder and Deceit, Big Government's Exploitation of Young People in the Future. I call him the Great One, Mark Levin. Sir, Rudy Giuliani was on this program, and he said he has identified 12 specific laws that could be broken if he were investigating this case. You've looked at the law. We've talked about it in weeks past. Your thoughts?
There's one law in particular that matters,
793.
And I want to read this. It'll take a short time, but I want to make sure James Carville and Lanny Davis can understand what I'm saying. Section 793 of the Federal Penal Code. Whoever being entrusted with or having lawful possession of, they didn't say send or receive, in lawful possession or control of any information relating to the national defense. I'll get to the rest later. Notice she said, I never received or sent anything marked classified. That would be bad enough. It doesn't have to be marked anything if it is relating to the national defense. I'm reading from the Espionage Act. Through gross negligence, that is, she didn't have to have specific knowledge or intent. Gross negligence permits the same to be removed from its proper place of custody or delivered to anyone in violation of his trust, or to be lost, stolen, abstracted, or destroyed, and there's a fine. This is a felony statute. Now, Sean, the U.S. Attorney hasn't said a damn thing. There ought to be a grand jury impaneled. I'm glad the criminal side of the FBI is investigating. It's not enough. Where's the U.S. Attorney General? Silent, not a word. We've had special prosecutors appointed on a hell of a lot less than this. Where's the special prosecutor? Where's Obama in pointing it? Nowhere. The United States Justice Department under this president is in full cover-up mode. Probably some civil servant, patriotic FBI agents are pushing and trying to do something, but this requires a full, comprehensive investigation, gathering all the evidence, bringing in all these staffers, yes, bringing in Hillary Clinton in front of a grand jury without a lawyer, questioning her and getting to the bottom of this.
Right, Mark,
this is not an email scandal. Hillary Clinton threw our national security on the table for all our enemies to see.
And so any issue or information related to defense, and you're talking about 18 U.S.C. 793, the Espionage Act, so by definition, satellite images of North Korea's nuclear facilities, which we know are in these emails, that would, in my mind, classify as a violation of that act. And that's only one example of what might turn out to be many. Again, 33,000 of these emails were erased. You know, hopefully we can retrieve some of them, right?
Well, if the law is enforced properly, in my humble opinion, and if Hillary Clinton is the putative Democrat nominee and wins the presidency, she would be serving the presidency from Leavenworth, quite frankly. There are multiple examples, just from Ed's report, just from public information out there. The idea that we're even debating whether or not she violated the law, you'll hear her supporters say, well, where's the evidence? And I say, we're not only overwhelmed with all the evidence, I say, where is the grand jury? Why isn't there a grand jury? Where the hell is the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia?
Yeah, good question. And where's the Attorney General? But I go back to Republicans. You know, Loretta Lynch said she supported the president's illegal, unconstitutional actions of the president on executive amnesty. So I'm not really holding my breath that she's going to involve herself in any way. Look, this goes beyond political, though. So my question to you is, I remember you being on my program talking about impeachment and talking about perjury and subornation of perjury and obstruction of justice and a president that lost his law license. They've been able to escape so much over the years. My guess is they think that they're going to be able to parse their words and say marked versus received and probably obfuscate the issue enough to get away with it with the American public. Legally speaking, it seems like there's a cover-up going on, and I don't have enough faith and confidence in our Attorney General that she's going to do anything about it. Does she skate over this, in your opinion?
Well, I don't know, but the Republicans should be demanding a grand jury under the United States Attorney's auspices in Washington, D.C. We have a public integrity unit that could get involved in the criminal division of the Justice Department, the Attorney General, who should be appointing a special prosecutor, but she won't. The fact is the U.S. Attorney should, in fact, impanel a grand jury. It's only because it's Hillary Clinton that they haven't. Her hands are all over this stuff. And this stuff about marked classified, that is totally irrelevant. That was lawyered. And if her lawyers weren't read into these programs, they should be investigated too, quite frankly. There should be a broad net. It's not a matter of specific intent. That is government information. That's national security information. It applies to everyone, especially the Secretary of State. Sean, when she put that server in her barn next to her house in Chappaqua, and then when that information was moved to Denver, somebody knew exactly what was going on. And the idea that she didn't know is preposterous. When they put that server on her private property, which was receiving government information, which she had to know the Secretary of State was going to receive information that relating to national defense, unless she put out a directive and said, I don't want to receive any information related to national defense, she had to know she was receiving it. That is gross negligence.
Let me ask you one question about 2016, Mark, if we can. When people ask me, I haven't endorsed anybody. I don't think you have either up till this point. People ask me what I'm looking for. We're 5 months away from the Iowa caucus, first votes being cast. And I always say I'm looking for the most conservative candidate because conservatism works and we can help turn the country around. We need to in a lot of different ways that can articulate a vision that will inspire people and can win. What is Mark Levin looking for?
Well, exactly the same thing. But, you know, a lot of these candidates, if you go back a few years, they weren't all that conservative. So if they've had a lurch to the right, we have to make sure that lurch is legitimate. I'm not picking on any specific candidate at all, but I think we have one more chance here. We have to bust through the Republican establishment, as Reagan had to as an outsider, give people an opportunity to vote for a real choice, a conservative, as a matter of principle, as a matter of policy, so we can spread liberty, so we can spread opportunity, so we can spread free market capitalism, so we can secure our border. So rather than fundamentally transform America, we will fundamentally transform our enemies. And we can reverse what Barack Obama has done with the regulatory state and so forth and so on, and put more originalists on the Supreme Court. This is a crucially important election. No more pretend conservatives. We need a real conservative, and they will win. The last time we nominated a real conservative, Reagan, he won 2 massive landslides.
Mark, congratulations. 4 consecutive weeks, plunder and deceit, #1 on the New York Times list. Congratulations.